Welcome to Exploring the Mystical Side of Life with your host, Linda Lang.
Hi, this is Linda Lang from thoughtchange.com, and I'm here today to explore the magic of plant medicine with Amy Wharton, who is a Gene Key ambassador and a plant medicine maestra. Welcome, Amy.
Thank you, Linda.
So, plant medicine has a really interesting reputation, one of magic and one of caution as well. Can you tell us a little bit about what inspired you to become involved with ayahuasca?
Yeah, my journey started in about 2012 when I was going through a transition from academia. I'd been working towards a PhD and becoming increasingly kind of jaded by that environment and that trajectory. And so a lot of different factors conspired to catalyze a sort of healing crisis in my own life. And through diving deeply into yoga and spirituality and different traditions, a lot of that process eventually kind of called me to the Amazon. I was really interested in experiencing these sacred medicines in a really pure and traditional ritualistic context where they've been used for centuries in this kind of shamanic way to heal and to resolve.
So can you tell us a little bit about what the process is like?
There's a lot of different ways and traditions, and each tradition, each lineage kind of has its own nuances and its own flavor of approaching the work. But most of the work is actually oriented towards this goal of healing, of cleansing, of purifying. And so that can be done in the context of a single ceremony with ayahuasca, but more often than not, ayahuasca is used as a tool within the context of a larger retreat where one is kind of unplugging and disengaging and eating a very specific diet and removing all of its kind of worldly distractions, really just developing a blank slate to come back to center and really align with this kind of sacred source element that we so quickly forget in this fast-paced world. And the real work happens, in that time, in that spaciousness. And then ayahuasca is really helpful in accelerating and amplifying and expanding the fruits of that journey. And in a way, it's like taking a very highly concentrated dose of nature and communing with this intelligence that is vast and that is cosmic and that is so adaptable and intelligent and divine, and can read the precise prescription that our souls have written for us and kind of translate that into teachings and insights and epiphanies that then we can receive and we can download and we can integrate. It's helping to unlock and activate the medicine that we are and reflecting back to us that kind of radiance and perfect, pure nature that has always been there, that we just gets a little cloudy, a little muddy, a little forgotten because of our conditioning.
So you mentioned the work,
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to suggest that this is something that you don't recommend people do just for an experience.
Right. Humanity has been searching for ways to alter our consciousness and induce these trance states, whether it's through breathing or drumming or dancing, you know, for as long as we've been alive, really, and to access that altered consciousness in order to grow and understand who we are. And so over the last decade or several, you know, I feel like there has been this growing wave of interest in psychedelics, and that really reflects where we're at as a species, becoming more aware, becoming more conscious. And I think ayahuasca is unique in that it's not recreational. It's not an experience that you want to approach from a mentality of having an experience or crossing something off your bucket list. It's a intense and powerful and potent, can be extremely triggering, extremely uncomfortable, extremely, it's just across the board. She's going to give you a ride to kind of unwind and unravel from all of the wounding, personal and ancestral, that has yet to be released or resolved.
And yet experiences, so I'm told, can be incredibly spiritual and awakening. It's not always dark.
Right, of course, yeah. She meets us where we're at, and there's sort of this process of first cleaning and purifying and releasing, emptying our cup before we can kind of fill it back in with what's true and what's authentic and what's real, what's going to serve the flowering of our highest purpose. And so a lot of the initial phases of the work for many people are this kind of physical purification that can include vomiting. And I mean, the purge can manifest in all kinds of ways, but we call it, oh, I got sick. And it's like, no, you're getting well. You're releasing the things that have kept you sick. And then as you reach, you know, a healthier kind of neutral and baseline, then the real beauty and majesty of the more psychospiritual experience open up, and a lot of people describe it as, you know, 20 years of therapy kind of squeezed into one epic night, or, you know, just unwinding and untangling from decades of limiting beliefs and behaviors and things that didn't serve them, and, you know, being able to see themselves clearly and remember the unlimited value and worth and purity that we all are.
I had watched a documentary not that long ago about a small study in the US that was having incredible results with depression and addiction. So people don't necessarily need to take ayahuasca for a spiritual journey, I'm assuming, but it seems like it ends up to be a spiritual journey and quite life altering.
Definitely. Incredibly effective and helpful for things like addiction and trauma, just broadly therapeutic in this sort of mysterious way. The spirit of the plant itself, you know, it's almost like having a conversation with our highest self, and by virtue of that awareness, we can gain access to embodying a lot more of that higher self, and releasing a lot of the struggle and the illusion of separation and pain. A lot of people also describe DMT, the essential component within ayahuasca, as the spirit molecule or the God molecule. It's kind of the thing that opens up the doors of our awareness and our perception to this supremely divine expression of who we are and what we are beyond time and space, and really beyond words or comprehension. And when you can have a glimpse of that, then there's really no going back. There's no, you can no longer deny that, yes, you are a human being having a spiritual experience, but more importantly, you are a divine being having a human experience. And I think those two truths just become kind of embedded after an ayahuasca experience.
And so, how long does the actual experience last?
Usually, a given ceremony will have some time for building up into the peak, and then the peak, and then, you know, kind of winding down. And it really varies from person to person and based on the needs and the demands of the group that you're sitting with. But on average, I'd say anywhere from 5 to 8 hours is about the length of a typical ceremony. And, you know, there's some traditions that serve multiple kind of servings and go longer, go all night. But yeah, the peak intensity is felt for about, I'd say, 5 or 6 hours. And then, you know, the medicine stays in our system, in our body, kind of much more steadily for a period of about 3 days, like continuing to work and offer the gifts and the healing.
Wow, it sounds like quite an intense experience.
Yeah, can be.
So, Amy, are there any people that really shouldn't do ayahuasca?
Yeah, there are some contraindicated conditions, and that's kind of case by case scenario. You want to be in relatively good physical health before you engage in such an intense journey. But then beyond that, there are certain medical conditions and mental illnesses that aren't compatible with the chemistry of the medicine. And so it's really important to work with someone who will conduct a thorough kind of screening of your background and your medical history and ensure that, you know, you're off of any pharmaceuticals or any drugs that would negatively interact with the medicine. And that's an important part of the preparation process, is if you are taking anything, to kind of wean ourselves off of these chemical dependencies and create a really blank slate. Because oftentimes the drugs are just masking, you know, symptoms and aren't really getting to the root. And so removing all of that from the system so that the medicine can go in there and really fine tune and calibrate us to a deep level.
Would you like to share something that you experienced in one of your inner journeys that really shifted your awareness of reality?
I think the kind of recurring lesson that has offered and provided the most value in my life has been this incredible awareness of kind of the higher harmony and the divine timing of things, and showing me in a myriad of different ways that even when things appear to be chaotic or to be odd or, you know, a struggle, there is always this much higher harmony happening, and trusting in the timing of things and surrendering to this cosmic intelligence and this sort of organic self-organizing wisdom within the people present in any given circle, that there is this kind of
Magic.
Yeah, exactly, that our kind of linear, logical, rational minds are so quick to dismiss in a lot of our experience in the kind of daily life in the mundane world. But yeah, the medicine has brought me back to that time and time again and revealed, you know, well, this couldn't have happened yet because all of these other things needed to kind of slide into position first. And there's this maturation process of accountability and responsibility, and the dynamics of that. It's been really, really rewarding and beautiful.
A totally different way for many people to look at life.
Mm-hmm.
Ayahuasca is known as the mother plant.
Mm.
Can you talk a little bit about honoring,
Mm-hmm.
the honoring that needs to take place
Mm-hmm.
within the ceremony, within
Yeah.
that relationship and the interaction?
Yeah, with all of this work, it all comes down to intention, and it's about coming into right relationship and cultivating a space for the sacred to really emerge. And I think the energy, the spirit of ayahuasca herself is this, it's just pure, unconditional love. And that can manifest as like the tough love of a mother, the fierce love of like a lioness protecting her cubs, or the gentle love of really embracing and kind of comforting and cheerleading us on our journey. It's through that honoring of ourselves and of the gifts that these plants provide, and the gifts of the great mother and Mother Earth. It's a positive feedback loop.
I think you have that right. It's a positive feedback loop. Because from what I'm taking from what you're saying, you need to come into the ceremony with a respect for the plant.
Yeah.
And you come out of the ceremony with a respect for yourself.
Right.
And for the medicine of the plant.
Right. And for the earth and for all beings and for humanity. And it's that kind of signature of compassion that really resonates so deeply within a ceremony of gratitude, compassion, and the more that we can enter into such a kind of rite of passage with the innocence of a child and this sort of humility of, we are tiny ants in the big picture, and yet we are limitless and powerful creators.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Is it correct that historically the shaman would take ayahuasca and do the journey for the person?
Yeah, and you see that shift, that trend changing across all different kinds of spiritual traditions too. And I think there's, the nature of love is really to expand and to encompass more and more and more love. And it's a similar kind of sprawling, expansive quality of the vine, of just wanting to reach and touch more of this collective consciousness and seed these ideas and revelations about who we are and how we can create from a really clear place. And so I think a lot of the sort of breaking down the rigidity and the limitations of old traditions is just a testament to the place we're at in the story, and just the need, as we become more connected through the internet and through culture, the plants are helping that, the plants are supporting that, and also participating in that process. And what was once isolated to a very specific, kind of dharma is now, accessible and available in every corner of the world, really.
Have you ever taken an ayahuasca journey on behalf of another person?
Yeah, most of my journeys these days are purely in service. I sort of most of my work, happens outside of ceremony. And so when I'm facilitating a retreat, it's really on behalf of all beings and in service to the ones who are there to receive. And I receive so much too from that, of the line between healer and participant and teacher and student. It continually becomes more and more blurred, the way that I come into the work. These days, I'm always kind of there journeying for the collective awakening and liberation.
Wonderful. Amy, it's been absolutely delightful chatting with you today. Would you like to share your contact information?
Yeah, Linda, thanks for having me. I don't really have a website as it pertains to this work, but my email is luciditree. It's LUCIDITREE @gmail.com. And if you're interested, you can write me there and I can add you to a mailing list to receive announcements and updates about where I'll be facilitating, which is pretty much throughout North and South America.
Okay. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Exploring the Mystical Side of Life. You will find us on YouTube, iTunes, Anchor.fm. You'll find me at thoughtchange.com. Come and pick up your copy of Learning to Listen. That's it for this week. Bye for now.